the whole community will come together to make it easier for the person. Like, for instance, when maybe one person loses a family member, the whole community will come together. Maybe the women will be in the kitchen cooking and doing the other stuff in the kitchen, washing the plates. The men will be outside, maybe digging the grave and doing all the hard labor outside. So there was this particular man in our society that when he always comes, he will sit down under a tree. Wherever he went to, that I think this kind of occasion, he will sit down under a tree, maybe with a newspaper, he will cross his leg and be reading. For him, he felt, well, nobody will notice that I'm not doing anything because there are so many people there that will do the work. But something happened. The day his own father died, when he was excited that thank God for the community that I stay in, everybody will come to my age, they will help me. And the day he came out early in the morning smiling, only for him to see everybody sitting down, cross their legs, with newspaper, both the women and the men. Nobody was there to help him, and he was running around doing everything by himself. Perhaps you may be asking, what has this story got to do with disability? But I'll tell you, many of us have this attitude. We feel maybe disabilities for a certain maybe person or a certain set of people. We feel it doesn't concern me. Just like that man, he felt okay, it doesn't concern me. What is it like? Maybe nothing bad will happen to me one day. But I'm here to tell you that disability doesn't choose. Blindness doesn't choose who it affects. It can happen to you. It can happen to you. It doesn't even look at faces. It doesn't care whether you're tall, you're short. It doesn't care whether you have money. It doesn't care whether you're poor. It comes at any time. I'm sure if I was pointing you. Some people here that see me now will be dodging and say, "God forbid, back to center." But no, I am telling you that it happens. Sometimes you feel those that are blind or the people with disabilities, maybe they are cursed. There are people that maybe different reasons like that. I'm usually in by the way. I lost my sight in 2019, and after I lost my sight, people were like, maybe some of my friends were like, maybe I don't have faith enough. In fact, someone once walked up to me and told me, I should think of the sin you have committed, or maybe there's one sin that you have committed like that God is punishing you for. And at that point, when it was still fresh, I was like, oh my God. I was not thinking of all the things I've done, all the wrong things. I was like, okay, I've done this. I was I felt so bad. I was even going to God and say, God, please forgive me and all. But I'm telling you that it doesn't choose. I was using myself as an example. I was, a young girl. I just finished school, preparing for my service. I had my plans, but it just came. So disability doesn't choose who it affects. You may be a governor, you may be a trader. It will come when it's supposed to come. It doesn't mean you are not religious. It doesn't mean you don't have God. It doesn't mean that you are less of a human being. It just means that some things have to change. It doesn't mean your life is over. It just means you have to follow a different approach to life. Can you all hear me? Yes. Say hi. Thank you. Now, just like the man in my story earlier, he felt nothing bad could happen. I mean, he had everything, as in nothing bad was going to happen to him in society. Other people, it was meant for others, but it's not. Disability can happen to you at any time. Disability can come through accidents. It can come through illnesses. Okay, sometimes you see these days, so many times you see diabetes. How many people know that diabetes causes blindness? How many of you know that diabetes can also make you lose the use of your legs? Do we all know? Yes. Hello? Do we all know that diabetes can also cause blindness? Yes. But sometimes we in a society we feel like, no, maybe it's witches and wizards that cause people. They are witchy, juju. No. I am going to tell you that no. no, please, if you have that thinking, no. Disability is not a disease. Blindness is not a disease. It can come to you at any time. So what you do today can affect tomorrow. Maybe today, if we invest in today, had it been the man in my story invested in his own life that day, that time, he would have been able to resist what happened in the future, that he was alone at that period when he needed his life. Perhaps you are here and then you are seeing and you feel, no, it cannot catch me, or God forbid, no, what is this girl saying? You may be investing in this cause, in this great cause. Maybe you're investing in your family tomorrow. It may be your child, it may be your husband, it may be your parents, it may even be yourself. Because you don't know what tomorrow holds. Please, we have to change our attitudes towards life. Sometimes we see that we treat the persons with disabilities as society anyhow. We feel that they are not even human beings. And then when the disability comes, when the blindness comes, what do? Do you just give up on life? Recently I've been hearing stories of people that give up. Maybe I heard recently of a man who lost his sight and he wanted to commit suicide. You know, when you lose your sight, you feel so traumatized. You feel like your life is over. You feel like, what are you living for? That's why you see that most times in society now, persons with disability or persons that have lost their sight, they just feel, okay, I cannot live anymore. It's better I take my life. What am I even living for? But I mentioned it's not true. You can live. There is so much you can still achieve, even with your disability. It is not your limitation. There are different approaches to take for traumatic healing. The first one, like me, it was acceptance. When you accept that, okay, yes, now I'm a person with blindness. Now, okay, this thing has happened, and you accept it, that will be the fastest way for you to heal. But the more you deny it, the more you fight. Maybe you fight that, no, God forbid. You go to all prayer houses, you go to all Babalawo, and all, you waste time. You continue denying that, no. Why would this thing happen to me? Me, I'm always, I'm a religious person. I do this, I do that, I give to the orphanage and all. But the best thing you can do when this happens is to accept it. That's the fastest way, because you'll be able to heal. And then with healing comes, with healing you can move on with your life. You can continue to be useful to the society, to your family members. Most of the time you have seen blind people here that are successful. Mr. Solizurus is also a witness, or should you say it's a testimony too. You can use him as a stepping stone for yourself to see that, okay, see, if this man can do it, I can do it. So you yourself, you will not give up. Hello? Am I boring? No. Okay. Now, I would like to, before I leave, there was this statement that one of my mentors, Miss Jerry, said, and it's something that stuck with me for a very long time, and I always use it till today. And I would like you to say it with me. Maybe if you're leaving this place, I want you to remember this thing. I want girl, Awashima, on the 15th of May, said something that I will never forget. And this is what she said. She said, if it hasn't reached you, it hasn't passed you. Please just say it. If it hasn't reached you, it hasn't passed you. Let's say it together. 1 to go. If it hasn't reached you, it hasn't passed you. So please, don't ever forget. Don't treat this, maybe you feel it won't come to you. Please invest in this great cause, and maybe you're investing in your own self tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Come back. Come. Where are you? Are you there? Come. close to me. Are you there? Are you there? Okay, now, Barrister Sonny, you are welcome to Jos, Plateau State. You help me do something. I am from Mangu, and if we are a Mangu, we have our own way of welcoming people. But I'll just do the simple one. You see, number one, I will tell you, you are very much welcome to Mangu. It's also language, so in our language with that, you are welcome to Mangu. Clap for me now. But if you go inside the real Mangu, they will tell you, Mwaleta. Okay? Can you clap for me, Mwaleta? Okay, now, Awashima, you are from where?
Sorry, I'm from Benue.
You are from Benue State? Okay. How you go welcome somebody for Benue? Sudan. Come close to the microphone now. Let me hear you, sir. No, wait. Yeah, let me hear you. Because I want to
Hello. So in T language you say Sudan.
Okay. So if you go say welcome Barrister Sonny, now how you go tell them?
Barrister Sonny Sudan.
Oh, thank you very much. Barrister Sonny Sudan. He did not change the Sudan. Well. You see, this is a very great occasion, and we must laugh, we must enjoy ourselves, because something good has come to our community. Now, everybody, I know those of you that know me, you know I'm very kind. Is that not so? I mean, I'm very kind. Why are you doubting me now? I'm very kind. In fact, my kindness is overflowing.
You said it.
Okay, now I want to dash you guys something. Those of you that have MTN SIM card, please, on your phone. Now, touch card will give you only MTN, please. Only MTN. I don't get Glow, I don't get Airtel, I don't get anything. Now, MTN. Please, on your phone, I will read the PIN number, please. Are you ready? No. Are you ready? Are you sure? Okay, 8. Are you there? 1, 6. Try it, don't miss anything. 3. No. Nobody has touched it. 4. Are you there? 8. 4. Are you there? 6. Are you there? 0. Are you there? 9. Are you ready to send? But please remember to put 8 before the 0. Now my phone number be that. Thank you. Clap for me now. So easy. You stand by me now. And this is my colleague for MC. My colleague for MC. They don't tell me say one person don't big come enter this place, and I him be the chaplain for University of Jos. What be his name, sir?
His name is Reverend Father Chinedu Anason.
Reverend Father Chinedu Anason. Please clap for him. Chaplain University of Jos. You are welcome, sir, to this very occasion. Welcome. Yes, sir. We will take another paper presentation by our daddy, Professor Ikechukwu Okoro. My colleagues, sir, tell us what he will talk about.
We would like to recognize the presence of Odu Jos Branch.
Oh, Odu Jos Branch, don't come. I'm a platform there. Now, Odu, I don't miss up. Don't mind me. Now, Kata they catch me. Okay, we will take another paper presentation from our daddy, Professor Ikechukwu Okoro.
You are highly welcome. Don't be so shy to us, because we know
We know our people and our people know us, right?
Yeah.
If we didn't call your name properly, please you forgive us. You are all welcome. Can you give another applause, please? I want to welcome our grandmother here with us presently, in the person of Mrs. Ebiloma. She's around here too. A round of applause, please. I want to recognize the presence of Mr. Stanley from Abuja. A round of applause, please. There are distinguished guests of honors here with us, which we cannot call them by names. I think I will give my seat to the MC to carry on. Later on, I will still come back and call the full names of others with me. So may God continue to bless us. Thank you. The MC, where is you? You know this wonderful person, any mistake that we did here is going to
Sir, Professor Kate Okoro, we are waiting for you for your presentation, please.
You are all welcome. Sorry, I am used to standing up and speaking. I'm not used to sitting down as a lecturer. I always stand up when I'm talking to my class. You've already heard. Oh, that's you. Thank you. Yes, Professor. That's you. By the way, before we proceed, why am I? Who is speaking? You know the name already, but according to the little profile I've presented, the speaker, that is me, have BA French, Abia State University, Uturu, Nigeria, MA French, Language, Linguistics and Literatures, University of Alberta, Edmonton, Canada. I held the position of Research Assistant, Department of Modern Languages and Cultural Studies, University of Alberta, and that was from 2004 to 2006. And now currently, I was also a linguistic consultant in the Department of Linguistics, University of Alberta, 2008. And I was also an education assistant to East Elementary School, a school division in Leduc, Alberta. That's also in Canada. That was actually a job that exposed me to the whole issue of accessibility and how the whole system is approached in Canada. Now, I'm currently lecturer 1 in the Department of French, Imo State University, Owerri, from 2011 till present. Researcher, or what we say, member of équipe de recherche with the école doctorale et langue, littérature et société, Université de Savoie-Chevalier, France. And that was 2012 till 2014. And teaching appointment from this August at the University of Iowa, where I'll be holding like half-time appointment, of course, in the Department of French and Italian. Now, my research interests, areas of research interest include 20th century French literature. I'm also interested in intercultural studies. I'm interested in Francophone literature, post-colonial literature, and translation studies. These are the areas I'm interested in. Okay, enough of me. Let's now talk about politics. Very huge beards. The beards are controversial. Some people think I should clean it up. Others think I should leave it up. It makes me look professorial, that kind of thing. Anyway, in this paper or in this presentation, the word education refers to formal education. This clarification is necessary because both blind and sighted people go through learning on a daily basis, though informally. Am I correct? Am I correct? We all go through learning, of course, informally. Whether you're blind or sighted, it doesn't matter. But we are interested in talking about formal education. What is our key word? Our key word is accessibility. And we are able to take a look at some of very basic dictionary definitions of the word accessibility. Number one, a place able to be reached or entered. You get a definition? Definition number one of accessibility means a place able to be reached or entered. Second definition, able to be easily obtained or used. Definition number three, easily understood or appreciated. Definition number four, able to be reached, used, or entered by people who have a disability. Now, all the definitions, the four of them that we have given, apply to our presentation. However, I think the last of them becomes most applicable to our topic. Any disagreement on that? If at all you were listening. Yes. Remember, we said the last one of our definition is able to be reached, used, or entered by persons who have a disability. So in this case, we are not talking about spaces. We're talking about books. That means able to be used. If there is a book and the blind person is not able to use it, for the most part, the book becomes, either you can say, user unfriendly, unusable. Well, we may not say useless, but if you say useless, you may not be blamed. Because if a book is there and somebody who is blind is unable to use it, my people, of what use is a book? It's of no use. Well, you can say useless. Okay. How is it going? Are we doing well? Now, for persons who are blind, listen, it is impossible to separate accessible. When we mean the word accessible, it is impossible to separate accessible with reference to use of textbooks or other print materials, either for study or for leisure, from assistive technology. What are we saying? Accessibility of books by persons who are blind have been made most relevant thanks to the new expression assistive technology. Do you understand what I'm saying? Without assistive technology, accessible textbooks will be not truly impossible, but somehow limited. Though the term assistive technology has become more popular and even an acceptable norm in this century, especially by the advent of the internet, personal computers, mobile phones, and other handheld devices. Yet, it could be argued that the quest to making texts accessible to blind persons for their education began even long time ago. You get what I'm saying? Though assistive technology has made it seem as if it's what started today, but in this presentation, we are presenting an argument that the whole thing began long time ago. This is true, as Louis Braille's invention of his mode of writing for the blind in the 19th century, of course, precisely 1824, inspired by Howey's and Babier's systems that existed earlier, could be considered a very serious turning point for the availability of accessible textbooks aimed at smooth and effective education of the blind. That is, Louis Braille started the whole thing. Valentine Howey, a French philanthropist, of course he was cited, had earlier invented a system of writing for the blind, and which had its challenges. What were those challenges of Valentin Howey? By the way, his association still exists in France even till today, and they are still publishing books and audio for those who are blind. Now, what are the challenges of the Howey's system? The amount of information that could be retained in Howey's books were limited. That was challenge number one. Challenge number two, production was expensive and cumbersome. Remember, the whole idea of accessibility is to make sure that things keep getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to produce. Because even being expensive can also make it inaccessible. True or false? Huh? Of course, we know that most persons who live with visual impairment also have economic challenges to back it up. So if the books, like in the case of Howey's system, can be expensive and cumbersome, then it has its problems. Another problem, they were bulky and voluminous. Most of you can argue that Braille is very voluminous. You can imagine a system that is considered more bulkier and more voluminous than Braille. Eh? I don't know, how many of you have Bibles in the Braille Bible in French? In English. How many volumes? Complete Bible. How many? And you say 4? Books. Yes. Bible. How many volumes?
No, I'm talking of, let's say, John.
John, yes. Mm-hmm. That is, if it's in grade 2, remember, if it's in grade 1 Braille, it's another thing. If it's in grade 1.5 Braille, it's another thing. But if it's grade 2, it now becomes well contracted. Even at grade 2 Braille, complete Bible is in 19 volumes. Complete Braille Bible. You may need a wheelbarrow to be taken into church. Now, because of all this, another problem was it did not provide them, the persons who are blind, opportunity to write by themselves. You can imagine when you can read but you cannot write. Is that a complete education? No, that's not complete. So with the Howey system, persons who are blind can read but they cannot write. Charles Babier, or Charles Babier, as we will say in French, was a captain in the French army. By the way, we just finished talking about Howey's system. We said that there were two systems before the Braille, and there were the Howey system and the Charles Babier's system. We finished talking about the Howey system. Let's now briefly look at the Babier's system. Now, he was a captain in the French army. He had invented a system that could enable the soldiers to read at night with touch of their fingers. The system had its pitfalls as well. What were they? In those days, the braille dots were 12 instead of 6. There were too many hyphens and dashes. So that still made it more complex to read. Now, Louis Braille's idea and determination was to invent a system of reading and writing that could bridge the gap in communication between the sighted and the blind. That is still what accessible textbooks, as we are launching today, is aiming at bridging, to bridge the gap of communication between the sighted and the blind. So any naira you're dropping today, know you that you're using that naira to build a bridge so that those who are blind will always be able to step smoothly on the gap of communication and learning and even research. Are you all getting sleepy now? Do you want to go to bed? Are you still awake? Still listening? Quite interesting? No, I can't be boring, I promise you. I can never be boring. I used to be an MC many years ago, but MC without pay. Simply put, making materials, textbooks, accessible for the education of the blind in Louis Braille's own words. Now we are quoting Louis Braille. This is what he said. By the way, we say Braille. Access to communication. We are quoting the man himself. Access to communication in the widest sense is access to knowledge. That's what he said. And that is vitally important for us if we, the blind, are not able to go on being despised or patronized into condescending sighted people. We do not need pity, nor do we need to be reminded we are vulnerable. That's the Bright talking. We must be treated as equals, and communication is the way this can be brought about. That's what he said. In fact, when I read this quotation of Louis Braille, I was and I am still of the opinion that it seemed like he was speaking into my head. Even speaking into my head, even as I'm standing here. Because the whole thing has to do with communication, knowledge acquisition, knowledge widening, and above all, being competent in whatever you do. Availability of accessible textbooks to the blind, therefore, we can argue is synonymous with access to knowledge. Any disagreement to that? By the way, how would you feel if I switch to French? I also speak, anybody speak German here? Guten Tag. Anybody hear what I said? That means good afternoon. Louis Braille can be boldly described as the father of accessible textbooks for the blind. Do you agree or disagree? Yes. I personally describe him as the father of what we are doing today. Because without him, we couldn't even have gone to school. By the way, for those of you who are not seeing me, I am practically reading my lecture notes in prayer. Wow. And I'm just adding some vibes as if I'm intelligent. But I'm not doing it. I'm not. Don't worry. Interestingly, Braille as a system has remained unchanged from its invention in 1824 to its perfection in 1837 till this day. Do you understand? Braille has not changed. It has remained the same 6 dots. You know, it has not changed. Happily, Braille production has evolved from slate and stylus, that is original form of invention, to computer softwares, thereby making mass production possible. That's what we are talking about today, Braille press, right? That's what we are talking about. There are even Braille printers, referred to as Braille embossers, which do not only ensure mass but rapid production of Braille books. Many of you can imagine when you were in secondary school and your sighted friend will sit beside you reading the notes from the teacher. You're using Braille and slate and stylus. You know the sound. So slow. All of a sudden came in the Perkins Braille from those nice people in Massachusetts. You can now hear it became noisier. But you can do faster. Now after that, I think I never had the chance of using what they call Marburg. I think some German company came up with Marburg. I never used it, but I was told it was great. And many things kept coming up. But all the same, so what keeps coming up is improvement. But the Braille has remained the same. Now we are done talking with Braille, talking about Braille. So Braille is the precursor to assistive technology, or the precursor or the foundation of accessible textbooks for persons who are blind. If you have any argument against this, meet me after the lecture. Another milestone to making textbooks accessible to the blind would be the invention of the phonograph, that is the audio recording by Thomas Edison in 1877. Now, Thomas Edison, when he was doing his recording, you know the popular poem, Mary Had a Little Lamb, right? Mary Had a Little Lamb. The whole idea was so that persons who are blind would now be able to listen to texts, and that would be easier. That was the whole idea of Thomas Edison. Through the years, audio recording has kept improving, right? Even today, we have digital recorders and other handheld devices like mobile phones. I remember in 2011, I bought a digital recorder called Olympus 7. It was considered the best in those days. When I wanted to buy another recorder, my sighted friend said to me, "No, Ike, no, don't waste your time buying digital. Your iPhone will do a perfect recording." So even now, your phones can do your recordings, right? So it's getting easier and easier. All these are still the accessible textbooks. Surely, the invention of voice recorder ensures that textbooks and other study print materials are available in accessible format to persons who are blind. Its importance to their education cannot be overemphasized. Of course, it cannot. So what do? You don't need to wake your sighted helper in the night to read for you. Your sighted helper can read for you, and you can listen as much as you like, right? And I know some of you, you know the best thing to do? Hey, just get a lady to record for you, right? So when you're listening to the recording, pray God you don't fall asleep. You know, lady with a nice voice to do the recording, right? I know, yeah, let's say yes. Yes. Unlike prayer textbooks that is recorded, they are more portable and less costly to produce, right? Recorded materials. Would you be carrying 19 volumes of Braille Bible or 20 volumes of dictionary just in your pocket? You have all your recordings. I remember in 2007, I was longing to buy a phone, that time Nokia N95. I never succeeded in buying the phone. My wife, being a prayer warrior, was praying that someday her husband will be rich to get the phone of her desire. I never used Nokia N95. But do we talk about that phone anymore today? No. Things keep improving. Furthermore, much time, money, and other resources can be spent training experts in Braille production. Now, as we are going to have a Braille press, let me remind you, there is always time, money, and other resources to train those who will be able to use the machine, whether they are blind or sighted, right? You cannot just begin to handle those machines. You have to learn all the softwares. I don't know which one they'll be using, whether it's a DBT, that's a Dog Spring Braille Transcriber, which is one of the best in the industry, or the Braille Embosser, maybe the Juliet Pro, and other ones that are very good in the market. Whichever one, please, they are not cheap. They are not what? They are very expensive. Now, such is not the case with recording. Anybody can just record, and it can cost you little or less money. This is improvement. Now, the 21st century, for all that we know, from the beginning of the 1990s, has brought the use of assistive technology for persons who are blind to its climax. It was the 1990s that brought the turnaround. Since then, the argument has shifted dramatically from reliance on Braille, large print, and audio recording for accessible textbooks to computer-driven means. Do you understand? The argument has shifted dramatically. So, we are no longer talking about Braille or recording alone. We're now talking about accessing your materials via your computers. It used to be desktops. From desktops to laptops. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry. The mistake you need to do is to give microphone to a lecturer or to a preacher. Luckily, I'm not a preacher. But don't worry, I'll try to listen things up. Thank you. Okay, let's do the summary. What we are talking about, I don't know if the document is printed. Well, for those who have it in print, I will summarize in the next 3 minutes and I'll be out of here. Thank you for reminding me. So what we are talking is, with computer, things are now getting easier. So we are now having everything. Thankfully, persons who are blind now have the full advantage of accessing everything. Let's now go, I don't want to talk anymore. Let's go to the final page of the presentation. Now we are looking at what shall we derive from making textbooks about, let's say in conclusion, here are some of the numerous and invaluable reasons why availability of accessible textbooks for the education of the blind must be taken seriously by the government and the private sector. So if you didn't listen to anything I said, listen to this. Reasons why it must be taken serious. Now, availability of materials for study and research. When textbooks are accessible, research materials are also more available to persons who are blind. You can now have your online library on your mobile phone. True or false? You don't need to send a sighted person to travel from Jos to ABU Zaria to go and be looking for an old printed project. You now Google on your phone and you can find materials thanks to accessibility. Making accessible textbooks cost effective. It makes it cost effective. Some of you have approached some agencies to print books for you. You know how costly they are. But when they are more accessible, they become cheaper. True or false? They become cheaper because there's now more competition. Provision of alternatives. Now there are those who do not like Braille. If you don't like Braille, you listen to audio recording. If you don't like audio recording, you use your computer screen reader. So there is now availability of alternatives. Ensuring independent study and research. Now the person who is blind can now do his research and study independently. You don't need to be relying much on sighted person to be doing your work for you. Your screen reader now becomes, for the most part, your sighted reader. True or false? So you don't need to be waking your roommate up in the middle of the night. Just turn your screen, put on your earpiece. Reading is going on, reading and research. Last, before the final, storage and the portability of study materials. In accessible format, in digital format, you are able to store more information on your phone. Most of your phones, 32 gigs. You can put additional memory, 64 gigs. That can hold a very huge library. So it makes storage easier. And even with the cloud storage, you will not be crying, oh, my phone crashed. If your phone crashes, it is either saved on the iCloud, in Dropbox, or on Google Drive. Finally, easy for making citation. Now, when you have your accessible textbooks, you are able to make proper citation for your professors when you're doing your thesis, be it at first degree or doctoral level. If there's anything I hate when students do not cite properly. So as a blind person, you are able to cite the pagination. You are even able to do your format. In fact, when I prepare my handouts and I give out to students, when I tell them I typed it myself, like, are you kidding me? Yes, I did. Thanks to accessibility. That's what we are doing today. That's what it's all about. I thank you very much. After boring you for a few minutes, I'm happy for your patience, and I thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Which one I don't know. Come make a shine microphone with me. So now you now you had to talk about. We get some visitors. I bet call their name.
We have the presence of Mr. and Mrs. Eze.
Eze, you respect for him. Yes.
We have the presence of Mr. Stanley Oyewuchi,
Stanley Oyewuchi, oh, clap for him.
Eighteen Amechi,
Yeah, Mechi, oh, clap for him. I'm going to leave us, but Minister Bidado.
we have the presence of one of the trustees, Francis Issa Waziri.
Yes, so Francis, our video, don't come, oh.
We want to welcome our Honorable NLB Chairman in the person of Mr. Yanley Joshua.
I don't think I'm me, but I'm me.
And also we have the presence of Joy Uzochukwu.
Joy Uzochukwu, she will give you joy, oh.
And also our board of trustees are here presently.
Yes, so.
In the person of Ezekiel Zoom.
Ezekiel Zoom, that you're there inside here. Raise your hand, make us see you. I don't see you. Raise your hand now. Raise up, I don't see you. Raise up. I don't see you. I don't see you. Raise. Oh, don't want to raise your hand. Okay, now.
We have from Mobile.
Yes, so moment there inside. You are welcome back.
EKM Ibe.
Ibe, welcome. Okay, now the few names now, okay. We expect more and more. And very soon we will still have the chairman, barrister, come talk to us again. But then, something happened. Something happened. You know, me, I love high life, but something happened, sir. Oh, their wife. Anything, or if you see any better man or better woman, don't make them so. Our board and our director and our chairman and our president, in wife they here, I bet make all of them let me hear.
We have the presence of our director's wife, in the person of Mrs. Godia Issa Waziri.
I don't say an angel, no, I'm not going to say a human being. Yes, so don't get one room for me.
We have somebody wants to go that he make his contribution in the person of from Imo Bats to 5,000 naira.
Oh, 5,000 don't enter my pocket. They say MC may carry that one go. Thank you very much. I beg attack for him. Hey, I want to tell you one story because where these band boys, those on the music band. I mean, come to your music, whatever. Now, band or the drum, so now, keyboard. Come touch them. We go do one music with you people now. Now, sharp. We saw what if I don't know how to buy a now our style be that. The time I enter Inugu. Now, one kind song, and they hear them sing. And they sing that song feel my belly. I tell you, that song. Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't get more. But then, as I come to do one journey, I go reach Edo. Now Edo, I come find one sweet one past that one. That's all. That man told me that song. He said I should not tell anybody. Now only if I come for Redemption International, I go see that song. Then he said the time where they hear for radio now fake one, now the one where I go sing now the correct one. Are you there with me? And then they want me so that my keyboard voice will know how to go. What did happen with our band now? They don't disconnect you. One more. What happened to the band? Ima, Mebaru. Kasa ka ukana mse kashipo.
Now what pop I go do for you?
course, we will soon have the president of this very initiative. And he's humbly, we are welcoming him, sir, humbly, Barrister Sonny Zurike. He is coming to give us his remark. Please take a round of applause for him.
Please kindly refer to the address by the President of Redemption International Fundraising. My address, May 15, 2021. First ever fundraising ceremony for the establishment of an automated braille press in Jos Plateau State of Nigeria by Redemption International for the Blind, holding at Crest Hotel, Jos Plateau State. The chairman of the occasion, Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, ably represented by Mr. Lawrence, my friend and my brother. Your Excellencies here physically present, men of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all other protocols duly observed. We are indeed excited to welcome you all to this epoch-making event, being our first ever fundraising charity event by Redemption International for the Blind, specifically designed to create awareness of our existence within this state in particular and Nigeria as a whole. The rationale behind this event is to raise funds on behalf of our association to enable us to embark on a project targeted at improving blind literacy to reduce published textbooks into accessible formats for the blind, either in braille, electronic, or audio. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Redemption International for the Blind, RIFTB, was founded by me in 2009 while I was in the University of Aberdeen in Scotland for my LLM in Human Rights, and was registered same year as a Scottish charity with charity number SC040825, with the primary object to advance the education of the blind and their general well-being. And upon my return back to Nigeria after my LLM degree program, we continued on an annual basis to provide completely for free such facilities as are relevant to the blind academically and for their independent living, including laptop and desktop computers, fully equipped with screen reader like JAWS, typewriters, guide pens, braille writing frames, braille papers, tape recorders, braille and touch wristwatches, signature guides, blind indoor games, talking Bibles, and many more. Upon my second missionary journey to Europe in 2016 for my PhD research in Portugal, upon my second missionary journey to Europe in 2016 for my PhD research, I thought it wise to register this charity in Portugal, which we successfully did in December 2018 with NIF number 515-204-056. We are at present equally registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission of Nigeria, CAC, as a non-governmental organization. While we shall continue to provide for free to the blind relevant facilities needed to help with their education and independent living, as herein before mentioned, we have now thought wise to include making published textbooks in accessible formats to the blind in real time. As it is often said, it is he who wears the shoes that knows where it pinches the most. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may I inform you that I have worn these shoes right from age 3. And I have since then continued to wear these same shoes, all through my primary to tertiary education, including this level where I am now. So I perfectly understand our limitations to our daily life tasks. I therefore consider myself as an unbiased authority here, having personally witnessed and still experiencing these men myself. One of the greatest challenges confronting the blind child anywhere in the world is education. Education is described as the basic building block of every society. The single best investment that countries can make to build prosperous, healthy, and equitable societies, of which we are a part. I'm sure you will agree with me now. If education indeed remains the bedrock of every nation, and if the international community is realistic about its message on education for all, whichever year, I don't know now, especially with regards to the United Nations 2030 agenda, its full realization can only be possible if there is a total and all-inclusive package that can help the blind easily access knowledge and information from books without having to rely on parents, friends, teachers, and classmates who can only assist when it is most convenient to them. This situation is no longer acceptable to the blind. I have come to discover that much more practical action really needs to be taken in the area of making knowledge and information in published textbooks accessible to the blind in real time. There can be nothing as enslaving as blindness, where you will have to rely on someone for almost everything. But for technology, the situation will have been worse. Thanks to the 2013 Marrakech Treaty, which is an international binding agreement that grants copyright exceptions on published textbooks to the blind. And the visually impaired, and of course, including persons with a print disability. Now, here I have cited a link, a website, so you may want to, at your convenience, go through the website to know more. And so, in my opinion, Nigeria and the international community no longer have excuses for failing the blind community in this direction. With all the industrialization and development of the Western world, only 5% of all published books is accessible to the blind living in the developed world. And this is according to a 2013 available statistics. To the blind in the the developing world, the situation is even more critical, where less than 1% of all published textbooks is accessible. Again, I've cited a link here for you to refer to at your own leisure time. Yet, in all cases, we all sit and write the same examinations at all levels of study. According to Article 1 of the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, persons with disabilities include those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairment, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. Again, I have cited a link here for you to also please refer to at your leisure time. From the foregoing, you will discover that the blind, from the foregoing definition, you will discover that the blind and the visually impaired fall under the category of sensory impairment, which poses serious barriers to us to participate on an equal basis with others in the society. See also Article 24(1)(a) to C of the same convention, which states thus: 1. State parties recognize the right of persons with disabilities to education. Very important. With a view to realizing this right without discrimination and on the basis of equal opportunity, state parties shall ensure an inclusive education system at all levels and lifelong learning directed to A. the full development of human potential and sense of dignity and self-worth, and the strengthening of respect for human rights, fundamental freedoms, and human diversity. B. the development by persons with disabilities of their personality, talents, and creativity, as well as their mental and physical abilities to their fullest potential. C. enabling persons with disabilities to participate effectively in a free society. Article 24(5). State parties shall ensure that persons with disabilities are able to access tertiary education, vocational training, adult education, and lifelong learning without discrimination and on an equal basis with others. State parties shall ensure that reasonable accommodation is provided to persons with disabilities. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is discrimination when a sighted child can study with his textbooks in his leisure time while that blind child cannot. Educational inequity and inequality is only bound to expand in Africa unless we take the necessary steps to make these textbooks equally accessible to the blind in accessible formats. It is in pursuit of this ultimate desire to eliminate this major barrier which has inhibited the blind and the visually impaired from participating on an equal basis with the society that we are today here gathered to explore ways of improving this essential right so that on an equal basis we can in real time equally access knowledge, information and culture as expressed in written textbooks along with our cited colleagues. So we can be rightly and correctly judged based on equal access to all This, in brief, is the crux of today's charity event, designed to sensitize our people, philanthropists, the Nigerian government, our society, and the international community, at large, on this major educational need for the blind. This matter touches fundamentally on our right to education and should command urgent attention by governments and other donor bodies and multinational corporations across the world. 6 years now gone since the Marrakesh Treaty became an international binding treaty, yet not much success has been recorded in this direction. Your Excellencies, there is no accurate data on how many blind persons in Nigeria are in school. Perhaps the newly established Commission for Persons with Disabilities in Nigeria may help us out with accurate statistics soonest. But the truth of the matter is that most of us begin and end our education without a single textbook in accessible format. I am myself a living example. Section 17(1) of the Nigerian Disability Act states as follows: a person with disability should have an unfettered right to education without discrimination or segregation in any form. It is pure discrimination that the blind and the visually impaired in Nigeria cannot enjoy equal access to educational materials with other members of the society in spite of our enormous resources. Again, please see section 20 of the same act. And I'm going to quote: government shall ensure that the education of persons with disabilities, particularly children who are blind, deaf, or with multiple disabilities, is delivered in the most appropriate language, mode, and means of communication for the individual, and in environments which maximize academic and social development. For the blind, the most appropriate mode and means of communication is Braille, and of course, audio. Unfortunately, this is 2021, yet the blind and the visually impaired students in Nigeria are still struggling to find relevant textbooks and other study materials that they can read either in Braille, electronic, or audio. We have the technology to achieve this. We equally have the International Binding Treaty since 2013, which has taken care of issues bordering on copyright questions. The will is there on our part, but what we do not have is the capital, the funds to expedite action on making public textbooks accessible to the blind anywhere in the country. Whoever knows is tomorrow from today. What makes you think you will remain physically fit until death? This necessarily might not, for now, directly affect you, but it could just be anyone tomorrow who matters most to you. So you may think you're not affected at the moment, but it could happen to somebody you know somewhere that is very, very important to you. Now, at the time George W. Bush passed into law the Americans with Disabilities Bill, he never knew and he never anticipated to be bedridden until death at a point in life. But that ended up being his lot, and he automatically became a direct beneficiary of the same law that he had carefully crafted for the benefit of humanity. Imagine the burden he will have been to his family without such a law. Your Excellencies, we may not be able to end this global book famine, currently inhibiting blind literacy worldwide, but we can certainly put in our very best to fight this barrier and then leave the rest for history to judge. Believe you me, the blind and the visually impaired in no small measure contribute to the beauty of our society. We occupy an uncommon place within our human society, and we are without doubt very special. Indeed, I can boldly beat my chest and say that without us, humanity is incomplete. We contribute in a very exceptional way to the human diversity. And without exaggeration, it is the duty of the government to protect the dignity of the blind and the visually impaired. The progress and general well-being of our people should therefore not be compromised. And believe me when I say I love my people, and I can go to any length to demonstrate this. We at Redemption International for the Blind are very proud of the blind. Truly, we are very proud of you guys. For in spite of all the challenges of life, in spite of all the rejections and humiliations that we face every other day, in spite of all the humiliations you face every day, you strive to live. As you strive to live, you still can walk shoulders high. Of course, you know, great many will have caved in, but for your resilience. So, how I wish I had it all. Unfortunately, the reverse is the case. Hence, my humble appeal to everyone gathered here today to please help us in any way possible. I urge you to please be a part of our success story. Our desire is to establish an automated braille press, computer training and skills acquisition center for the blind here in Jos. But to achieve this, we are appealing for your kind intervention with funds to enable us to purchase Braille 650 SF2. The cost of this machine alone is about 120,000 euro, equivalent of 65 million naira. And besides this, we also have the need for computers, scanners, recording devices, vehicle, and a generator. Of course, we need to pay our staff salaries and maintain our office here in Jos cannot be overemphasized. Our decision to locate this project in Jos Plateau State is born out of the realization that it is within this community that the University of Jos, which admits, or which arguably admits the highest number of blind students in Nigeria, sits. From here, if God wills it, we may then launch out to other regions of Africa. And we truly crave your support in this direction. We shall reduce, I repeat, published textbooks in accessible formats to the blind and the VI, of course the print disabled. We upload these books on our website for the blind anywhere in the country to either download for free and read, and or listen when most convenient to you, or listen online while on the site. So, while we celebrate the Marrakech Treaty as a major positive development towards this fight fight to end global homelessness, affecting our full social integration and general academic performance, may I humbly appeal to everyone herein seated today, our larger society and international community, to please join us in this our fight towards the actual practical realization of the 4 M's of this meeting. I appeal directly to the government of Nigeria, the Commission on Persons with Disabilities, National Human Rights Commission, Nigeria Copyright Commission, United Nations, UN, donor bodies, multinational corporations, financial institutions, the academia, every lover of humanity, and all lovers of education to please support our cause. We will not disappoint. And seizing this rare golden opportunity, may I, at this juncture, also appeal to the members of the National Assembly and the federal government of Nigeria to, as a matter of urgency, consider the immediate implementation or domestication of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, UNCRPD, and the Marrakesh Treaty of 2013, which is long overdue. Doing this will indeed have a long way, or will indeed go a long way in complementing the existing Nigeria Disability Act and improve the laws and the general well-being of persons with disabilities in Nigeria. In conclusion, to all of our special guests, thank you for coming despite your tight schedule. We appreciate your highly esteemed presence. We will appreciate your kind intervention in whichever way possible. We count on your support. RIFTV, which is National Commission for the Blind, cares. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Please, let's clap for our president, please. Thank you very much.
Abuja for his own address. Can we give a round of applause to our thank you very much.
My voice can't say don't know how to sound. Some words I may pronounce the way you don't understand. If you ask me to write, I'll get it back. So, number 2, please let me step on your 15 program. With that, time your Canada working. The Party Commission, especially on the I bring greetings from the National Commission, Maldives down, the Executive, and the board. We are partially here because of President he cannot make it. But I know deserve because this is the zone and good things always have job. Commission of Public Tablet from that right law started from judge and it's very to establish commission and going to serve. So it was at the federal capital territory following He's happy to know that. He's happy to know that when passing the ability and he's going to stand for ourselves. He said, our brothers, because they went, saw, and decided they will bring it back because these people need it very much. But I need to partner with you. What to do to ensure that all the work that our brothers and sisters who are blind or Masasate see very well. Game better. Our years is challenging all others. Emulate, good work we can see here. Improve life, perceive disability in Nigeria. They asked me to come to see and bring back information that we can work with this organization, the Network International for the Blind. So after here today, we will appreciate if but are sent to us so we can plan next step together. The commission, as it is today, after President Buhari has literally signed the act, went further to establish the commission, appointing board, executive secretary, governing council. That means the UNCRP, United Nations Commission of Department, has been fully domesticated. I can tell you that before I left office yesterday in this street, I just walked on the Marrakesh street, which I about to take a second. Yeah, I came on instantly to him because link to follow is on the program. Thank God also, my colleagues Stanley said, we'll be working together to ensure that all things are made manifest. Now, my brothers and sisters, who are blind and sight. The commission is ready to partner with the association in all aspects, especially as we get into going modern assistant givers and enhancing the culture to make life meaningful and more joy for people. Which are the forefront. Several commission for passing with disability. Very soon, we'll be having more budget. We're having more budget for the federal government. Meet all this. Who we appreciate. Expand by another culture person to work because it is high grade that we together full high grade and help our brothers who is here. To work among us, so that together we can see the man which are there for the commission. If we work among us, we will not be able to receive anything. But tomorrow, we blame ourselves because right now, the executive secretary said, since our job are passing, myself, the director, I'm there. My colleague is blind, and so many more. And many more, I go to Israel. As soon as I finish, well done. Head of service, head of service. So, where are we coming to them? Because they are doing with that issue, passing the family from home solid to model and creating new direction to be. Next thing, we need world best practice. World God.
round of applause to our honorable executive secretary, Salute Right Commission Abuja. It was wonderful speech.
Time I want learn French. I don't go Paris, not be Paris, na Paris. And I enter there, I tell them, say, I think they teach me how to speak French now. But the thing where they start with ante, trap, cat, send, six, and I don't tie, they think they're difficult. I don't tell them, say, I mean, no, you don't get pidgin French. They tell me, say, I want pidgin, go Cameroon. I don't enter Cameroon. I tell them, say, na pidgin French, I come land. Then they tell me, you go enter choir on a scout. I said, I go start with choir. Then a choir in the corner over here. You know the song they teach me? Let me sing the song for you. You want to hear it? You want to hear it? Okay, the song is this. Pizze dona, selemeti. Pizze dona, selemeti. Pero para baby yo condilero paragi. Pero baby yo condilero paragi. But by the time I graduate, I come and ask out. Another different thing they don't teach me. That one like this. Misa donor class. Misa donor class. Musa donor class. Misa donor class. Misa donor class. Misa donor class. Musa donor class. Misa donor class. Bonjour messieurs, ça va? Oui, ça va. Report Kadabou. Report Kadabou. Bonjour. Okay now.
Present my priest. Before I open the floor, I want to encourage everyone gathered here in this event this evening to support the event and to make the community to be the way we expect it to be. So I welcome all of you for being patient with us since 12 o'clock to this point. And without wasting your time, I'm representing my priest and he told me to encourage everyone gathered here to support Redemption International for the Blind. So whatever you have, 1 million, 10 million, 10 million is welcome. 50,000 is welcome. So whatever you have to support us, I will encourage you to do that. And I'm opening the floor with 15,000 naira.
We are very happy for the motivation, and I hope this will be like a stepping stone to bigger amounts. Thank you.
My police that follow me to this event, Brother Francis is supporting me with 5,000 naira. The priest I'm representing is supporting you with 5,000 naira. God bless you.
A round of applause to our Reverend Father. A round of applause to our Reverend Father. I want to call on the LDU community because they are about to leave, so they have something to say.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
On behalf of OBB Development Union Just Branch, which I represent as the chairman. Brother Sonny is from my town. So when I got the information, I talked with him. And I promised him by the grace of God will be here. At least to follow him is our brother. So on behalf of the ODU Just Branch, we have a little token of 10,000 naira. A round of applause for them. And I informed the local government Just Branch as well. By God's grace, after I finish with them, anything they come up with, I will forward it across. Praise the Lord. On my humble self, I'm supporting with the sum of 3,000 naira. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Please, a round of applause for him again. Okay, please, any other person, anybody that wants to donate, please, because of time, let's try to cooperate. Not go around of time, please. Thank you.
We want to call on our all guests. If you have something that you want to offer for Redemption International for the Blind, this is the right time to make your contribution. We don't want us to announce, we can announce. If you don't want us to announce, we cannot announce. So it's the right time, please. Thank you.
Yes, so feel free to donate. That time, I don't remember this song sung by Oliver the Frog, now opportunity. Brother, opportunity. If you allow this opportunity to pass, you don't go give again. I beg. I want to give you one announcement. You see, if you look for the booklet right there in front of the table, at the back, you can come see where they say if you have any donation or now pledge one day. I beg right up to there. Bring this to us here with an answer. I beg if you don't see or come and tell me, I see I go write it for you. I see I go write it for you. So we talk about that one. Yeah, I get it up there. I see with my ears so. That's what I do. And money now. Bad boys, come close. Come close. We will do have the new money.
So,
yes.
So you wait one day here now. I'm not saying come from after all.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. I just laugh.
Don't go gather money.
Not true, I got up. But I come share them to all of these people where they see them sit down there. And I come share them. I said, let them come up, bring up one by one.
So you want me to, if they carry the money inside, I don't know whether a horse or a camel or a cow.
Now, I think it's, some of them, they climb camels, some climb horses. But as I see them, some of them people come for chair, they use their care call. And they use community care to come here.
How many million naira?
As we can see now, that my friend here, I'm putting your hand on you here, come now. Now you are giving the money. Come, bring up. And Bible, let us know some
Okay.
So, yes.
Now you can sing the music.
Now we will sing them together. But first,
I'm Mr. Lewis, President of Groups Nigeria Limited. And it happens that we were in Zawan last week. And actually what we saw there, I discovered I was very much challenged. Now I come to understand that there is ability in disability. So when they were singing for us, we were challenged by what we saw there. And this afternoon, I was also challenged by when I had a professor, Ikechukwu Koratek. When he was giving his address, I was very much challenged. So I just want to encourage as many that are here that are disabled. I want to assure them that there is ability in disability. Today, we have witnessed that. Having heard from Professor and even the founder of this great that is Redemption International of the Blind. The chairman actually surprised me this afternoon from his speeches, citing many quotations, So I just want to encourage them that it's well already for them. In the name of Jesus Christ. So we have been our friends of the plan for a while, some time now. So I want to encourage you. I asked my friend that to come to my office maybe within the week. I will make a donation of 5,000.
Wow. Please, a round of applause for you.
Thank you very much for what you have given unto us this afternoon, the organizers of this project. I write thank you very much for what you have done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A round of applause to our brother for that wonderful contribution. We also have Dr. Patrick Dako, who made his own contribution of 20,000. A round of applause.
A round of applause for him.
Thank you very much for that. Dr. Patrick Dako is not in our midst, and he has sent his representative. Thank you very much for that. Wonderful.
So let's hear from our prof, please.
Hello, how are you all?
Fine, sir.
Are you all okay?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you one thing,
Yes, sir.
those of us in the academia,
Yes, sir.
we're not supposed to be rich, huh?
Yeah.
We're just supposed to be comfortable and do things that are nice. Now, I'll tell you this. If I give too much, you guys will say, hey, lots of handout money. If I give too much, right? I'm going to be accused of from getting much exploitation. Anyway, by the way, Sonny, I should tell you this. We went to primary school together.
Wow.
Very intelligent guy. He was very good in mathematics. He used to be, the go-to guy for the math. And I didn't know math. I just asked him to do the math for me.
Wow.
Sometimes, we pay some little, you know what I mean? Nice incentives. So I'm happy to know what he's doing. I go to share lots of occasions done by people who on board, of course, are not the same. So this is my own event. Please, I'm not going to speak much, but I'm going to give 20,000 naira.
A round of applause for him. Thank you very much, bro. Please, any more donation? Music suspended.
Hello. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
My name is Mrs. Chinyere Ogwokafo. I'm supporting this occasion with a sum of 5,000 naira.
Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much, man. God bless you.
Please, ushers, make sure we are hungry. We don't have to live here without eating anything, please. Can you make that provision for the drinks, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, ice water. Just go, soft. Listen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
I am Comrade Stanley Onyebuchi. I'm happy to be in Jos, and I'm happy to be in this occasion. Barrister Sunday's weekend is a godsend. God has used this man to touch the life of so many visually impaired persons in this country. And I want to urge each and every one of us here, please support. No amount is too small. No amount is too small.
That's true.
Please, whatever you have, support this project. On behalf of my family, I will support this project with 5,000.
Please, a round of applause for him.
Apostle Daniel, please. Can we give a round of applause to our dear brother? I don't know if Mr. Daniel has a lot to say. Can I?
Hello. Good evening, brothers and sisters. I'm honored to be part of this program.
Yes,
Just like it has been said here that Brother Sami Zurut is nothing. I think that's how I feel too. Because people who are able-bodied cannot do what he's doing. And we really need to support him. Actually, I have 2,000 naira to back up the program.
A round of applause for him.
A round of applause for our dear brothers. Mr. Daniel Paul, supporting the organization.
So much. Before, people with disabilities are roaming along the street begging, but now they are great people. And I am very, very grateful that there is ability in disability now. Once again, I am a gospel artist and I am working with Enugu State Water Corporation, Assistant Director in Commercial Section. And also a volunteer teacher in Pina Foundation. So, I am here to render one of, I am here to render one of my songs. I'm here to render one of my songs titled Agame Berigi. That is whoever you are, I'm going to win you. But you people who play it for me, then I will sing it along. Praise the Lord. As you listen, may God bless you in the name of Jesus.
Amen. I don't get assistant now.
Can you start with your own before she prepares?
It's
Thank you.